For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The Bible is tricky because the teachings of God can be simplified for the instruction of children or subjected to an exegesis that can take a lifetime to explore. Matt 6:21 is a short and simple line that is made complex because it appears to state an obvious truth backwards. We understand that what we love and desire is treasure to us. We treasure our children because we love them. To state we love our spouse because we see her as treasure seems not only wrong but insulting and backwards. But what is God talking about when he mentions treasure? Normally we think of gold and jewels, but it can be extended to deeds to lands and other things of value that can be accumulated. The rich man was accused of storing up treasure that moth and time can destroy rather than treasure in heaven. Luke 12 verses 16 to 21. Treasure is property. People have a hard time with this fact, because we all own property. We feel a need to have homes, cars, and so on. But we know these are also a distraction. Few of us would say these physical things that have captured our love, or heart. But no one is going to say they do not occupy a large portion of our conscious mind. Nor does anyone just give everything to the church with no care for tomorrow. We have bills to pay and other responsibilities that require property ownership. Most exegesis concludes that it is the amount of wealth that is being accumulated that is the real problem. It is one thing to provide your family with a home, it is another thing to be a landlord and grow rich on rental income. One of the greatest lies of liberalism is the idea that money can work. To work is to add value to assets. Money cannot add value because it cannot work. It is physically and economically inert. Only labor adds value to the assets of God. But, and this is a big but, money can and does add to one's property holdings, because money is a type of property. We think of capitalists as investing money in property, but banks invest money in people. Money is the property of banks and also of the state. Banks lend money to people as a way to make money increase and grow in size. It is the use of property as capital that makes some people rich. This property is where their hearts are, because it is where their treasure is. The people of God cannot love property and God. This is not just a spiritual truth, it's a logical one that is subject to the law of the excluded middle. The physical world is not ours to own or treasure nor be made to feel rich because we have accumulated great swaths of it. The physical world is not ours and no amount of physical power will legitimize a claim to any of it. But it is not just the logical and moral factors that make treasuring property wrong. Property claims create conflict and competition. When we are after the same piece of land or the same supply of money, we become competitors, even enemies. This is a dilemma atheists have not solved. Without the law, two men or two nations or tribes after the same territory have to fight, in the way animals fight over territory. If a strong man comes along and through guile, physical might and charisma centralizes power onto his person, he can create rules and regulations surrounding the allocation of land. Whether this is done through purchase or through graft is immaterial. The point is, in the liberal system the only way law and order can be maintained is by the governing authority maintaining a monopoly on the use of force and the tools of warfare. For liberals there is only property to lust after. It holds the key to everything else they want. The ownership of property is the key to power and status. This desire for property goes way beyond a farmer wanting land to grow his crops and raise his animals. The farmer or other capitalist wants more and more property because it is the key that opens all doors. There is no end to the avarice. The richest liberals in the world continue to lust after more wealth and power. They get to the point where their time is preoccupied with getting richer and richer. But this ought not be seen as just a complaint directed at the very wealthy, because in fact if one is not godly one will end up preoccupied by concerns over property. There are just as many greedy poor people as there are greedy rich people. But so long as we seek private property beyond what is needed for personal use, our heart will be on what we own, not on what is God's. This is an absolute, because if we claim what is God's as our own, our heart will be there, on our property and our treasure, not on God.